Welcome to DevHacks 360 channel, and today we have a special podcast with the special guest Vlad Strigunov, who had to go through the journey from quality engineer to the Flutter developer. I know Vlad for 8 years, and I was in the beginning of his career as a QA engineer back in the day, to be honest, like 2017 as far as I remember. And recently we reconnected and I found out he's actually a Flutter developer. So in today's episode of our podcast, we're going to go through the entire journey, how Vlad conquered all the fears and obstacles to go from QA to the developer. Vlad, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Very excited to be here. Very excited to share about my journey, and hopefully you'll find it helpful.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. I'm sure all our viewers today will be excited to listen to the journey that you went through. And a lot of folks who are struggling to find a job right now in a quality space, they're considering to switching role to software engineers, would love to hear your journey. And please stay until the end because Vlad is willing to reveal all the secrets that, all the steps it took him to get from quality engineer into the Flutter developer. So Vlad, can you share your story of transforming from the QA to Flutter developer?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm not sure if there are too many secrets that I can present to you that are not known already by people. I definitely do not consider myself to be any kind of expert or career transition expert, but I with pleasure, I will share my journey and my story and tricks and things that I found helpful, and on the other hand, some that didn't work well for me.
Super excited about. Vlad, can you share your story of transitioning from QA to Flutter developer during the pandemic? I believe you told me that, right? What actually inspired you to make that shift?
So yeah, I was a software quality engineer at a startup at the time, and when pandemic hit, unfortunately, I got laid off. Together with, I believe, somewhere around 50% of the company at the time, and that was a wake up call. That was a rough awakening of a kind, because there's a lot of uncertainty ahead of us. We don't know what's going to happen, and then you're left without work. That's quite stressful. What inspired me to get into Flutter? Well, um, it was not a very emotional decision to switch to Flutter. I was just lucky to have attended a couple of meetups during the time when I lived near Google offices. I just attended a couple of meetups where they presented Flutter as a framework. I didn't put much thought into it at the time, but I remember that it's a framework that you can use to create mobile apps with one code base and have iOS and Android and potentially web covered, so you don't need to create multiple code bases basically. And being a software quality engineer, in my experience, I worked on mobile apps for quite a bit. Was responsible for releasing those mobile apps to App Store, Play Store, and sometimes having two native apps that are built with basically two separate code bases, that came with its own tax, because you have a process for iOS, you have a process for Android releases, then they talk to backend in kind of a different way sometimes, and as a QA engineer, you have to make sure that it's not different for a user. If I pick up my iPhone and I pick up my Android phone, if I happen to have two, the app should behave pretty much exactly the same. There can be differences in style, but yeah. So at the time, I was just thinking, okay, if I have one code base, the app would behave exactly the same on both platforms. That would eliminate quite a bit of checks. Um, And so pretty much that was the whole idea. Flutter was just picking up. There were not too many big names that started hiring for it. I think BMW already built on Flutter. I think um, Google Pay was built on Flutter. But again, Flutter is supported mainly by Google. So I just put a bet. I knew from the inside, being a QA engineer, I had a very unique insight in the kind of a pain, you can call it, of bringing all the code bases that you have to one ubiquitous experience. And Flutter provided just that. And then again, one more thought, probably important. When you look at the job listings, it would say something like 5 years of experience, 10 years of experience. Flutter was so young at the time; it was like 3 years young or something like that. There would be no possibility for people to put like 5 years of experience. So I was like, okay, there's not going to be too many people that are going to be bragging that they had 10 years of Flutter experience where I just started. So that was one more consideration. So it was, kind of easy decision for me. I just wanted to make sure that if I build, I am investing my time into a new technology that hopefully will take off. And I definitely saw the solution of bringing different multiple code bases to one code base and eliminating discrepancies with it.
Interesting. So basically, in a nutshell, you visited one of the meetups around Google in Silicon Valley, get inspired about Flutter. You actually realized that the Flutter wasn't very common at that time, 2020. So not a lot of competition were on the market. So that's actually a very good point. Yeah. So basically, you were early adopter of the technology. Plus, you've been testing mobile applications before, so mobile wasn't foreign for you. So it was like kind of same mindset. You already work with the mobile developers. You realize mobile challenges. Makes total sense. That's a great story for our viewers, actually, like how to pick up technology. And for those folks who actually start considering switching from one technology to another, for one profession in the tech industry to another, highly recommend to find local meetups. They're sometimes very inspiring. You can actually network with the professionals and they can help you. They can become a mentor for you and, pave a road for the transition, I would say. Great story. So let's move on. The next question I have, which is actually about the learning experience. How did you approach learning Flutter, especially at that time? Where I'm sure there was not that many resources, and considering you had a QA background, not an engineering background, were there any specific resources or strategies that help you to bridge the gap?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Very crucial point about resources and about me not being a developer at the time. I definitely was not very excited about plowing through documentation that, sometimes it's too dry. It's so technical. It's so dry. It's not very exciting. So Flutter, one of the uh, advantages of the project itself is that it's led by Google, and they take developer experience very seriously. They take marketing to just about next level from anywhere else, right? So they made sure that Flutter team is providing potential developers with a lot of resources that are very easily digestible. There are multiple talks. Um, there are multiple recorded meetups, right? And even though the community has not built um, tremendous body of knowledge and education at the time, uh, Google itself has already taken care of it. So it was a very organic and easy choice for me. So probably when you choose a framework to learn, you would like to try to build a hello world in the framework or some kind of little application, and just get a feel of the resources that are available. And Google provided tons of resources in video form, in daily widgets format on YouTube. So that was just just made it. It was ready.
Interesting.
You didn't have to go and search for something.
So not a Udemy course, not like Coursera course. You basically used only Google resources, or was a conjunction of anything else?
Great question. Definitely multiple resources. I definitely use multiple resources, but mainly official documentation that is not as dry in case of Flutter. At least I didn't find it as dry. It goes usually on just API docs. There will be an embedded video where they're going to explain how some widget or some function works in a very easily digestible form. So I'd say it's very beginner friendly. Yeah, but Udemy courses, um, I went through one, probably not completely. I bought a book. There was a book. I I will not Google it right now, probably. Yeah.
That's fine. But it would be great that maybe you can share the links of all the resources you used, or maybe you can find out and I can share with the audience. We're going to publish this video on the YouTube in our channel, and I'll put it down in the description. So folks who are interested in the Flutter can look at these resources that help you during that transition. I would highly
Absolutely.
appreciate that. Again, for those folks who are actually wondering, was it Flutter, by the way? Flutter is a framework, as Vlad mentioned, developed by Google. So Google is behind it. It's cross-platform development specifically for the mobile. A lot of folks would probably ask, what is the differences between Flutter and React Native, and why specifically you have chosen Flutter versus React Native? Or you didn't think about that at that time?
Well, that comes back to the decision, to the trade-off of how much experience do I have? How much experience does market have compared to me? React Native and React was pretty mature at the time, and I did not have this. Honestly, I just didn't like JavaScript too much. I don't want to come off as arrogant because I do not. Yeah, I'm not that kind of a programmer, I'd say, but it was just, it did not feel as attractive to me as Flutter. And again, there were folks that coded in JavaScript and React Native for like 10 years on the market. Why would somebody choose me when I just started, when I had like 1 year of experience with some projects that I made by myself?
Makes total sense. Yeah, that's right. JS is the main language behind the React Native, and as far as I remember, Dart is the programming language behind Flutter. Correct? How complex it is? Is it really complex compared to other programming languages? Because you come from the test automation background, I'm sure you've been using Java before, or any other common programming languages. So, how was the transition? Like, what was your QA mindset slash programming skills helped you out, or did not help you out during the transition to Dart language?
It definitely helped. I began kind of with the last question. It absolutely helped because I think, yeah, we wrote tests for automation on Kotlin and Java. Dart is object-oriented programming language. It's very similar to Java. It is very comfortable. I'd say it's less verbose. You don't have to type that many words. What is it in Java? Like void main, public static void main, the first function, right? In Dart is just main, curly brackets, something like this. Very concise, but very similar. Less verbose. And Flutter itself, it supports this paradigm of I don't remember exact word, but basically you describe the layout of the application for a particular state. You explain you explain your application, like, if I have this state, this is how it should look like. if state changes, this is how it should look like. So it's a very new, it was a very new, interesting paradigm to me, but pretty much all applications in Dart, in Flutter, utilizing Dart, they are built in this paradigm, which is a thing of its own. And I think there's more learning for this paradigm other than Dart language. Because like I said, shifting from Java, from writing tests, page object model that you taught me, writing Java to writing Dart, it's very comfortable, I would say. Yeah. I think Python is more concise, but I like both languages equally at this time. I have not worked in Java much. As soon as I started Dart and then Python. Yeah.
Perfect. So, what were some of the biggest challenges you personally faced during the transition, and how did you actually overcome them? Considering the fact you came from the QA background, I'm sure there was some skepticism from hiring managers or team members, like development team members, about your QA background. Were there any challenges that you would like to share with our audience?
Yes, there were many challenges. So thankfully, people are very polite, and usually hiring managers or interviewers, they're not going to be telling you like, "Hey, you know what? I think you just no, go home." So I've never faced this kind of criticism, but if you have some time, you can just read through forums. Definitely, quality assurance is a specific mindset, specific activity, which is different from development. I'd say this is the main difference. Not even that you've developed applications or are you writing code or not. It's kind of different mindset to begin with. And not too many people are sharing their experience of switching from QA to developers. At least when I was doing it, it was difficult for me to find it. I remember once I asked many questions in either experienced developers subreddit or something like this. Like, hey folks, how would you go about transitioning? This is what I am. This is what I know, and I want to get to development role. And I remember there were not too many answers, and definitely no answers going into details. So I'd say challenges is it's a leap into unknown. At least at the time, it was a leap into unknown. Um, you have to just think for yourself. Am I going to be able to do it or not? And then no criticism from hiring managers or developers. Uh, Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find in my circle of colleagues and friends. I wasn't able to find somebody who could share same experience of switching from transitioning from QA to development. So yeah, that was a big one. Then of course technical. Um, Programming is not easy, at least to me. I don't know. But I think it's not very easy. So I had to learn the basics and fundamentals. So this definitely was challenging, and especially the challenge was in finding quality resources, how to learn. And I've mentioned Python. Actually, after I began writing Dart and building Flutter applications, I realized that I have a gap in understanding how to write programs overall, And I picked up a book. Actually, not. I did not pick up. I think my wife bought it for some reason some time ago, and it's a learning Python book, and so I decided I'll just give it a try. It's a 600 something uh, pages read. It's written by Mark Lutz. I'll share the link with you. It's a fantastic book, and the things that I learned from it were very transferable to basically any programming language. Not any. It's not functional, obviously, not functional programming language, but to at least Dart. How to think about objects, how to think about how to connect modules, um, how to think in a way the computer reads a code. You definitely don't have to take the route that I took. It really differs from person to person. It's just myself. If I see a gap in some fundamental knowledge, it's just gonna bother me. You definitely do not have to read 600 book on Python to build a Flutter application. I'd say, yeah, that was just my challenge. You've asked about my challenges, and that was something that bothered me. I wanted to get through those fundamentals, but being a quality automation, writing quality automation tests before, it definitely helps a lot. It's like you're not completely lost. You know what's Git. That's a biggie, actually. You know where's your code stored. You know how to put it there, and the rest, the documentation, the little projects, the cookbooks, you'll find on the official Dart or Flutter webpage. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing this story. I'm sure a lot of our viewers will benefit from this. What about pressure? Because I know there's a different pressure between the testing engineers and developers. Because as a developer, you have a stricter deadlines, you have certain commitments in terms of user stories, epics, tasks. In terms of like how you work with the like GitHub repositories or Bitbucket, right? Like how make pull requests, code reviews, certain things that you don't do much as the quality assurance engineer. How you actually did you feel this pressure when you start working as the Flutter developer versus your previous career as a quality assurance engineer?
There's definitely certain type of pressure. The people talk about imposter syndrome a lot. Like, oh, I think I am the least qualified person to do this job. I don't know what I'm doing here. And so if I think about it deeply, then it comes from pride. If you try your best to work on your pride and just not try to project that you're way smarter than you are, and just approach people in a friendly manner, being open, and I know there's a lot of ifs, and your team, your leadership, and your colleagues are open to this collaborative environment where there are no stupid questions, then this becomes, it stops being such a big problem. Thankfully, I was very lucky to find a job where the team is very friendly and collaborative. So to get rid of this pressure, I usually need to just reach out either to my technical lead or to an architect or to a manager or to my fellow programmer if I know that they possibly touched upon the same kind of problem. But of course, you just need to make sure that you've done your homework. Spend some time, work on the problem, research, do a little bit trial and error, and then it doesn't work. Okay, reach out to the team. And yeah, basically, it's the big component is luck. There's pressure. A lot of this pressure is self-imposed.
Interesting.
Then if you're lucky to have a good team, or at least, normal people in the team, they will be able to help you because nobody started their life being fantastic programmer, or probably some did, but not the majority. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, the takeaway is obviously to find the right team, right? It's not gonna put a lot of pressure, but at the same time they actually help you out if they even put pressure, right? So then you're not alone. So basically,
and do your homework.
Yeah, and the homework, obviously, a lot of work, a lot of self-discipline. Thank you. I think this is great insight. Yeah, that's why I think a lot of folks who've been in a testing role are scared to go to development because they know the pressure, right? They are scared of this what if I'm gonna like work day and night? What if I'm not gonna know something? There's the fear of unknown, right? And I think that you have to like you're right, you're fighting yourself, not anybody else. Interesting. Let's shift the
Yeah, there's
gears.
only one way to do it. You need to try. You either draw a good collaborative environment, or sometimes, unfortunately, toxic environment that just sucks life out of you. Let's be real, but just don't invest too much of your life into it if that's the case. Yeah, you do you.
Agree. Agree. Let's shift the gears towards the next step, which is your portfolio. Obviously, you decided to make a step because you got laid off. Then you decided to learn Flutter because you visited one of the local meetups, got inspired. Then you shifted towards the Google tutorials, which is actually, like you mentioned, they're not super dry. They have a great examples mixed with other tutorials, which you're obviously going to share with the folks. Then once you were ready, obviously you start interviewing and get your first job. But the question probably a lot of folks will have, like, what was your portfolio? What was your pet project that you showed during the interview? Because you did not have previous experience, so you have to show something. Was that a project like this? Can you share with the folks what was that? How you were working on it, how you positioned this project to the potential hiring manager or developers who interview you. That would be great to share if you have that story.
Yes, I do have this story. Thanks for asking this question. And I think I have reasonable advices at this time. So in my in my case, I actually started playing with Flutter probably just several months before I got laid off in my free time. I think it's probably an immigrant mindset or something. I just never stop developing new skills or learning. And that was, um, I don't know, probably I felt COVID coming or something. But yeah, project. I began working on a little app several months before I got laid off. And it would be like 7 a.m. in the morning before I go to work, or 8 p.m. in the evening for like an hour or so, just slowly but surely building up on what you built yesterday. Um, I'd say it's very important. I think it's very important. If you have not been paid for do like development work by employers previously, then you need to show somehow that you know what you're doing. You know,
What was the
the
app?
only
Can you share with the guy what was the actual app about? What you decided and how you picked that, the app? Was it like part of
oh
the
sure,
tutorial curriculum, or was completely like, app out of your dreams or desire
app
to?
was completely out of my dreams when my friend from work he heard of the idea. He asked me, did I eat mushrooms or what? So the app was inspired um, by a thought, what can I do that is completely not rooted in making money? Well, yeah, a little bit opposite of what you would probably try to do. Yeah, and I thought that creating an app that would allow people to share positive thoughts, share their positive intentions toward each other, maybe anonymously, that'll be something that I am inspired to work on. Like, say, for example, you are going through tough times mentally, you have a depression or something, you don't want to share it with anybody else, you just don't care, but you're scrolling and you do not mind if uh, somebody just try to set a prayer for you or send some good vibes or meditated on your problem or just whatever. I do not discriminate. I don't care. Yeah, that was the idea. So the easiest way to get into people's hands is by the means of mobile application. Everybody's looking at their phones all the time. So yeah, the app it has two sides. You can either create a request and you can choose a category like I'm physically hurt, or I have some mental difficulties, or I am concerned about something, and it's anonymous. and then it would create a request that's going to just hang out in the pool. And the second type of user, they can pick this request up. They will read the information as much as you want to share. They will never know what's your name or who are you or where are you from if you don't share this. Like no fields are required in this application. And if they are religious and they are praying, they can pray for you. Or if they are not, they can think good things about you, and then they will click fulfill request. And the person that sent out the request, they will receive a notification like, hey, there's somebody out there that actually read about your information. They felt compassionate and they kind of sent this, good wave. The app is called All Good Waves. I have
It's still an app store. You can download that, or
maybe. I think so. Yeah, I think I've stopped. I think I've disconnected the domain, but I'm pretty sure that it's still up somehow. I need to check if I'm paying for it.
oh, that's so cool. So,
Yeah.
is it what you showed to your potential future employer, right?
Yeah.
Wow,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's great.
Domain is alive. You can take a look at it actually. Yeah, and one more thing. I was always like a fan of 3D and animation and data visualization. So one little cherry on top of this project, it was embedding of JavaScript, like a 3D visualization that shows actually how many requests are there and how many of them are answered. Yeah. So it's obviously it's pretty much I'm not supporting the project at the moment. So yeah, but it's still live, it looks like. And that was my pet project. I created a website, I created the visualization, I created the project itself, wrote it on Flutter, and it was very gradual and it was very slow. And it was probably 20 or 25 times when I thought, oh my God, I do not know how to do the next step. Take a break, breathe out, take a break, come back in 2 days. You'll get some ideas. Yeah. So basically, this project, as you can see, it's not very, it's not making money. It's not about some high uh, performance, I don't know, servers serving information or something, but it's something that just kind of struck me that I want to create, and I've done it, and I was able to technically explain why this project is relevant for my knowledge and for my new work. And this is very important. We probably can discuss it separately or
No, this is great. I think this is a great. I'm sure the folks who are watching us get inspired that if you build something you really like, even as a pet project, versus you build something you need to build, you will be more excited to show you to your potential employer. You will actually go dive a deep dive into the code. Is because it's your baby, right? You do care about this, and I think that people who interview, they feel this energy. They're like, wow, I mean, this guy is not just to learn development for the sake of learning. They build something that really like. I think this is really important. So I think one
yeah,
piece of advice for the folks who are watching us is like, when you are learning something new, if you decided to become Flutter developer or iOS, Android, or even web developer, don't build just a project for sake of building. Sit down and think about something, your hobby or we really like, and build it in the context of your own sake, or your own hobby, or your own dreams. And like Vlad said, it doesn't have to be like for sale. It doesn't have to be a startup idea or $1 million idea or unicorn idea. It's something that you will be able to show off to a potential employer, and which actually will get you a ticket into the company as the developer. I think this is a great story. Let's move on.
probably one important thing that I want to add to your pet project. First, if you don't consider yourself like a very creative person, if you don't have a project that you are dreaming of or something, it's absolutely great to build a project that is boring. It's absolutely great to build another clone of any basically live application, and you just probably can push into more technical part of it. Like you can show your understanding of of work with the servers. You can deploy the server. Yeah, nothing wrong with it. But if you have this impetus or some ideas building something original, I was not confident when I was building it. I wasn't sure if I will finish it, but I think that this project, it actually gave me a little bit of more, fuel to actually bring it to the finish line. And a really important thing that I heard from, I will share the podcast. This engineer is absolutely fantastic on the YouTube. He gives a lot of advice and he's very experienced. So basically build some kind of diagram that shows the flow of data in your project, that shows how state is, what is your state management, how data flows, what's the relationship, and how does it overall, like on a high level, how your architecture looks. And architecture, don't get scared of this word if it sounds like, whoa, there should be some architecture. No, I mean, overall, just show your understanding, that you actually see how everything is connected. And in my case, it was very simple. It was just a use of a couple providers. In Flutter, it's a big thing, like state management provider. It's one of two most popular. So I was using just a couple providers, but visually on one A4 paper or PDF, just show this is how data comes from the mobile device into my application. This is what happens within the application. This is how it requests information from server. This is how it comes back. And this is how it turns into a new picture on the phone. That was very helpful when I presented this. Usually during the interviews, I usually got pretty positive feedback. Yeah, I think that this trick is not being talked about much.
Oh, wow, this is really good piece of advice for the folks who are watching. Know that. And please, if you have any resources, share a link with me and I'll put it in the video description so folks who are watching us can click on it. And
yeah, I'll prepare several links and names of books.
Great. Let's move on. The next thing, which is I think very important, and probably a lot of our viewers will be interested to hear about, is the job hunting. How did you find your first job? I mean, obviously you learn Flutter and Dart programming languages. You also built your pet project, but what was that, first job experience? Were you applying just simply like on LinkedIn? Was it a referral from your former coworker? What was the journey to get actually to the first interview and the first job?
Okay, I hope this one will be a quick one, and you can probably ask additional questions if I omit something or you think that there's more to it. It doesn't matter when I look for job, I just basically, I don't want to say spam my resume, but I definitely try to turn off my emotions as much as possible and to send out my resume to as many employers as possible. If Flutter is mentioned, if it wasn't mentioned, but there was emphasis on work with mobile applications, just send your resume as much as you can. Try to emphasize things that could possibly put you at an advantage for this particular job position. I mean, usual things, but forget about your emotions. Don't count how many resumes have you sent out. But if you sent less than 100, you didn't send enough. I'd say this. Yeah, just send your resumes. And if you like position or you have like position, craft your resume a little bit so it matches the position a little more. Add people on LinkedIn. It doesn't matter whether you apply on LinkedIn or Indeed or Monster or wherever, X, everywhere. Just apply. Just send your resume and don't get too attached to one position. Don't get like, okay, if those people do not answer me, I'm going to be offended. We all go through this. We do not like to get ghosted. And in my experience, you just get ghosted more than not. So just probably try to not pay attention to it and send as much as possible.
I agree. It's a pure statistics, right? The more you send, the more chance somebody will reach out. I have another piece of advice that I personally used before and recommend for a lot of people I mentored since I've been teaching for years now. That actually worked very well for me and other folks. I mean, if you see position open and you can see on LinkedIn statistics like 1,000 people open for one role, obviously the chance that your resume get open, significantly decrease. Will be politically correct, right? Most likely people not going to notice your resume. However, what I've done before, I look at the company who's hiring and the position, and I basically go to the people in the company. You can go people tab in LinkedIn and see who is actually potential could be hiring manager for this role. And reach out to people, introduce yourself. Hey, I'm a Flutter developer. I work such company, or I'm looking for this job. I see your experience. I mean, yeah, could you recommend me, or could you connect me if you know a hiring manager or somebody I can talk to? And internally, people are usually very receptive to this, right? And they like this, and they refer you, or they could be hiring manager and say, hey, is any way I can schedule like a 15-minute call? I'd be very mindful of your busy schedule, but I would like to ask you a question about the job. So show the interest, and that actually helps a lot. Yes, it takes more time rather than bluntly sending the resume, but as a return, you get to the right person right away instead of go to recruiting team and God knows maybe you get there or maybe not. So that works very well. It's time consuming for sure. But as Vlad mentioned, the more you send, there's more opportunity to get noticed. So I notice a lot of folks don't do this, but it works. Yeah, I mean, thank you. I think what you shared is a great piece of advice. A lot of folks just very shy of sending. And resume supposed to reflect your LinkedIn profile. Has supposed to be a pure match because a lot of recruiters searching for this. You can put open to work. So open to work on your LinkedIn obviously will signal out for the recruiters that you are open for opportunities. Keywords like mobile development, Flutter developer definitely helps out. But most importantly, achievements. What do you build? What challenges you overcome? How you benefited teams in terms of ROI? And don't put I know Flutter and Dart. I mean, obviously there will be a lot of people knowing that, but how you utilize this tooling to achieve certain success in certain role. If this is your first position as the Vlad, I'm sure Vlad leverage the pet project as an example, which is totally fine. But try to make your resume as LinkedIn profile rich in terms of achievements rather than laundry list, just bullet points. Anyway, this is great insight. Let's move to the next one, which for me is very interesting because a lot of folks get freaked out by the difference of life as a tester versus the engineer. So obviously you've been engineer for 5 years right now as a Flutter developer. Can you share your experience? What is the experience working as developer versus a tester? Maybe 4 or 5 points that actually makes a huge difference for the folks so they understand what is your day-to-day activities.
Well, in general, life's not too different. You just sit on a chair, usually on a chair, in front of a computer all day. And then a little more if you have any side projects in the evening or in the morning. But jokes aside, it's honestly, it's not too different. You still have to learn the project throughout, so you understand what's your contribution, how not to screw things up, because you're still responsible for quality. You're not only responsible for quality of the product, now you're also responsible for the quality of your code and adhering to conventions that are accepted within your team and within your organization and the company, and the list can go on. So basically, as I came from quality assurance, I have not changed much. I just feel like I still test a lot. I still test manually a lot. like currently I need to do pull request reviews, basically whatever code my colleagues are sending and they want to add it to our program, right? I need to review that. And in terms to review it as one of the steps, I literally check out their branch, I run the code, and I manually check what's happening. Even though we have continuous integration and automation, and within Flutter we have unit integration and all kinds of tests, it's still very, very valuable and it's very, very showing. So I'd say it's a little bit more exploratory in terms of how to solve some problem in terms of solving it as a computer program. So the program does whatever business people want from you, right? But overall, I do not see too many differences. It's probably a little bit less. Yeah, definitely. It's a little less communication. You're still involved in communication with design, with all kinds of stakeholders, depending on your on the product and your team. For in my case, constantly in communication with designers, with product managers, with other developers, with our fantastic quality assurance testers and automation engineers. So you speak to the rest of the team all the time, but probably a little less. That's like the biggest difference that I would probably think of.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think that's also comes with a lot of fear from testers that when they become developers, it's going to be different life. They're not going to sleep. It's going to be pressure. But it's very surprising to hear from you. It's not much different, and which is great for the viewers who are scared to make that move. Right? They think like being developers, like wow, like different world. But let me ask you. I mean, honestly, is it harder? Is it more pressure? Or you would say it's the same or equal
I would say it's equal.
pressure
It's
wise?
it's difficult. Yeah, pressure wise, I'd say it's equal because the outcome basically the outcome is the same for the whole team. And when I worked as a quality assurance engineer and as now I work as a developer, it always felt like the product when it fails, it's the whole team's failure. And I would take it personally. I would make lessons. I mean, would try to derive lessons from it and approach it in a different way next time. But overall, it's not fun for the whole team. I wouldn't say, yeah, it's much different. Honestly, it didn't change much. Yeah, I
Interesting.
wouldn't say that quality assurance tester is at fault of some bug that we released or another developer is at fault. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's helpful or not, honestly. It's such a neutral answer.
It's your perspective. Listen, out of thousands of students that graduated our courses since 2013, I can count on one hand who actually converted from quality assurance to develop. It's one of them. We have quite a few folks who converted to iOS development, Android development, much less to web, to be honest. But most folks from quality assurance from testing, software testing field convert to project management. I see a lot of that. But development less so. So I'm always fascinated by people who are like yourself who like make this step because mostly it's actually you have to overcome the fear. And that's I don't know why, because a lot of people who write test automation, the code already, they live in the
Yeah.
same code base, especially mobile, right? If you're on iOS and Android,
Honestly,
it's
I
the code
do
base.
not see automation engineer as much of a different kind of a contributor than myself, for example.
You know what's the funny thing? I'm going to sidetrack a little bit, from our conversation. Recently, like obviously, I run Engenious company and Marathon, two companies, and we're hiring people. And one of our clients, I was very surprised. I mean, it's going to shock a lot of viewers today that 2025, everybody talk about AI. Everybody talk about generative AI, AI agents, LLMs, machine learning. People freaking out like to lose their jobs. But probably, I'm gonna guess right now, about 70 to 80% of testers still doing manual testing. For the matter of fact, one of our clients recently requested manual testers specifically. And when I said, "Are you sure you need just purely manual?" He said, "Yes. We're still experimenting. We do not need an automation engineer. It's overkill. We need just manual tester. Give it to us." Obviously, we work with the offshore teams for the cost-effective solutions, right? But regardless, 2025. And a lot of folks that I talk, due to the nature of my work, I'm shocked. A lot of folks still don't know any coding. Automation, shift left, still hasn't happened in a lot of companies. I mean, to me, it's just surprising. I mean, we're starting shifting left 2012. I remember that back in the day when I was at Expedia, we didn't have manual testers. We already had a lot of automation engineers. 2012, and it was just fine. But 2025, 13 years later, we're still in the same problem, in the same, that I think is just human nature. People just scared of changes. It's crazy. But the good news for the folks who are working either as a tester, I would like to make a shift to the development. There's always opportunity. I mean, Vlad was pushed out by layoff during hard times, and that gave him obviously a motivational push, right? And he made the step. But you don't have to wait for the layoff. You can start doing right now and be ahead of the game. And there's always an opportunity. So for the QA engineer considering a similar transition, Vlad, like yourself, what you would recommend as a first step? What should they do? Number one, tomorrow.
Tomorrow or today, you can think for yourself and just analyze. Don't think about technicals. Don't think about the job market. Don't think about any of that. Obviously everybody's situation is different. Probably you're very pressured to go and start making money right now. That's a different situation. But if you're not in this situation, just imagine, am I okay with sitting in front of a computer and writing code for the next 5 years? Because when I began the transition, I wasn't thinking in that way. And now I'm like, okay, I sit in front of a computer writing code for like 3-4 years. It comes quickly. Like, are you actually okay with this type of activity? Exploring the code, looking at the whatever theme is at, you're going to be staring at the dark mode or light mode code for hours daily. Just think about it. And then what excites you about it, and then realize whether you want to make this decision or not. This, I think, is very, very important, because as soon as you realize that you really want to do it, then it's not too difficult to make a decision. And when human being makes a decision, we start to focus on opportunities other than fears. You're like, I know I want it, so okay, does this work? I think this is gonna work. Let me try it. Okay, hey, this guy says this is really cool. Okay, you know what? I'll look at it. I don't like it. How about that? I think this is another opportunity that I can, I don't know, add to my app or something, or prepare to in my interview or something. Versus the mindset, oh my God, I don't know what's going. Like, we all have fears. I have my fearful days when I do not know if everything's gonna be all right, like tomorrow or not. But overall, it's the difference. Like, make a decision, and if you made the decision, you'll be able to focus on the next step, other than the rest of the attributes that might be scary, or you can call them excuses. That's what I would do today or tomorrow.
Great piece of advice. I love it. I think that a lot of people don't do it. They only chasing money or career dreams. But the first thing, like you said, ask yourself bluntly, honestly, like, are you sure you want to do coding for the next 5-10 years? Is it something that actually makes you excited every day? A lot of people don't do this step, but that's why they regret in their careers for such step. And then
there's something helpful that can help you think about this. So you can go to Team Blind, right? or to Reddit. And there are different subreddits where developers are discussing their experiences. People are sharing very bluntly, like you say, they share their frustrations, they share their experiences. You can get a feel of how it feels actually. What do they share on their highs, and what do they share on their lows? And do you want to rotate in this community? Because our communities affect us tremendously.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
yeah,
I agree. Yeah, uh, nothing else to add. You said it so well. So looking back, 4 years when you started as a developer, is there anything you would do differently? On your journey of transitioning, would you change anything?
no, I would not. I think it couldn't play out better. I bet on Flutter. I bet on it was kind of a bet. I hoped that I would like this experience of being a developer. I definitely do like it. Flutter is big right now, um, and I think it's expanding still. There's many big companies and names that are picking it up for their front ends. Um, it definitely helped me to bring food to the table, and I could not be more grateful for this. Hmm.
Amazing, amazing. So what is
Just
the one? Yeah,
do,
go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Just make sure to do homework. Just make sure that I know it's not easy to find a work that you really like. It's actually extremely rare to find a job that you're like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this job my whole life. I don't think this happens easily. I think what happens is some people try hard and try their best to make themselves like their work, their job, you know. So if you can try to make it your hobby, then it is not that difficult. It is not that scary. Yeah.
Makes sense. So, what is one piece of advice you'll give to the key engineers who recently lost their job or looking for switching a career from a software tester in a developer?
My heart goes out to you. It's a very difficult time. I really, really hope that it will all only turn out to be, I mean, for the best for you. And you, as Primogen, it's a YouTuber, Primogen, a fantastic programmer. As he said, I cannot put it better than him. You can bet on yourself. Um, yes, just try to not be too emotional. Try not to, like Igor said, try not to chase the market or the hype, and try not to be very fearful of whatever the internet is being scary about today. And you can do it if you just slowly but surely, bite-sized, day by day, just nibble on the problem. Yeah, just believe in yourself.
Great
Everything's
piece
gonna
of
be all right.
advice. Great. Yeah, I cannot agree. Yeah, the only person who can bet on room is just yourself. Yeah. Don't think that some magic will pull you off. No, great advice. Who actually kept you motivated during this transition? Was any like a mentor or a close person next to you who just basically inspired you during this journey? Was it somebody specific?
There were multiple and different levels. First of all, of course, my family, of course, my wife. Um, then second, again back in 2020, I got acquainted with some, um, I guess I can call it Hindu scriptures. It's a spiritual books and readings such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and those were very, very inspiring. So definitely my close ones, my wife and God. I always trust in Him. Honestly, oh, and my friends, my coworkers. I don't know the previous experience where I worked at a team with mobile engineers. all those experiences, they all come together kind of to shape your next step. Yeah.
Wow.
And thanks to you, you basically brought me into the position earlier in 2017, 2018. You taught me how to automate things. Yeah, I know that sometimes people are not happy with outcome of their online courses or in-person courses that they take or boot camps. I feel like probably those people, they're at different situations, but sometimes people just don't make this decision. Okay, I am doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
So
mean,
thanks to you.
it's very nice to see folks like yourself. It's been almost 8 years since one of the boot camps we taught in Silicon Valley, and you were a student, and here you are as a Flutter developer. And for me, obviously, as an instructor, it's great to see students that actually grow in their careers and make such achievements, and it's fascinating. It means you're doing something right. So I'm really thankful for this, and thank you, Vlad, for joining for this interview, sharing sincerely your journey. I truly hope a lot of folks are going to watch this interview on our podcast on DevHacks 360 will get inspired. And again, what I can say for our community, every week we're shooting different content about testing, test automation, shifting in a career, interviewing different folks, different guests. Subscribe to our channel, hit the like button if you like our content. Don't forget to hit the notification bell if you would like to get notification about new podcast series that are coming out every week. And we'll see you soon. Take care.